Expectations can often make or break your opinion on a roller coaster. If a coaster is given the highest of praise, even if the ride was decent, you could still come off disappointed. And the opposite can also be true. You could be blown away by a coaster that no one seems to talk about. Today, I'll be counting down the top 5 most underrated and overrated coasters that I've ridden. The 5th most overrated coaster I've ridden is Steel Vengeance at Cedar Point. Yes, I know I talk about Steel Vengeance a lot, but hey, so does everyone else. Many people praise this coaster, and some call it the best in the world. After watching Coaster Studios' reaction to Steel Vengeance, I knew I had to ride it. I rode this coaster 5 times throughout the day, both front row and back row, day and night. And I have to say, I was a little bit disappointed. I go more in-depth about my thoughts on this coaster in my video about why Maverick is better than Steel Vengeance. To summarize, the elements didn't pop as I had expected, and I felt the first drop was lackluster at best. This is still an elite coaster, but I don't understand why others regard it so highly. Coming in at number 5 as the most underrated coaster I've ridden is Banshee at Kings Island, a B&M invert. This is the latest B&M invert built in the US with its vest restraints, which I absolutely love. I hear many people calling this a mid-tier invert or that the elements didn't do much for them. However, I disagree. This is the only B&M invert where I actually got some ejector airtime on the drop. The slow-mo heartline roll at the end also provides some great hang time. This coaster is very smooth and has a beautiful setting, and I feel like people should talk about it more. The number 4 most overrated coaster I've ridden is Medusa, a B&M floorless at Six Flags Discovery Kingdom. A lot of people seem to love this coaster's unique straight drop and interesting layout. I really do like the first drop, but the rest of this coaster reminds me too much of Scream at Six Flags Magic Mountain. Both coasters are somewhat loud, have a nasty rattle, and are just uncomfortable. The inversions are just super drawn out and don't provide any real forces. I also don't understand the hype around the Sea Serpent roll. This is still the best floorless coaster that I've ridden, but I feel others give it more praise than it deserves. The 4th most underrated coaster I've ridden is Accelerator, an intimate accelerator at Knott's Berry Farm. To understand the true magic of this coaster, you must sit in the front row. I still believe that this launch is more forceful than dragsters. The 205-foot vertical top hat gives amazing panoramic views and also provides a great pop of airtime. Accelerator really lets you feel the speed after the first drop with 2 super forceful overbank turns. My only gripe with this coaster is that the line seems to move really slowly. I have heard other enthusiasts talking about this coaster and saying that they liked it, but not giving it what it really deserves. Accelerator is a top-tier elite coaster. The 3rd most overrated roller coaster that I've ridden is the B&M invert Raptor, located at Cedar Point. Many enthusiasts consider Raptor an elite coaster and better than Banshee. I disagree. Personally, Raptor is my least favorite B&M invert, even behind the Batman clones. Elements were not whippy, and it seemed to have a nasty rattle. I don't think this coaster is all bad, and it still has some redeeming qualities like its incredible intensity. Many people call this the best B&M invert, and for me, it just didn't live up to the hype. Coming in at number 3 is Maverick, an intimate blitz coaster at Cedar Point. Again, I know I talk about this coaster a lot, but it deserves to be talked about. Enthusiasts relentlessly complain about this coaster's bad restraints and trim brakes. Oh my gosh, get over it. The first drop and second launch are 2 of the best moments on any coaster. Maverick is packed with intensity and speed. To hear more of my thoughts, check out my video about why Maverick is better than Steel Vengeance. This coaster belongs in every enthusiast top 5 list. Coming in as the 2nd most overrated coaster I've ridden is Magnum XL200, an aero hypercoaster located at Cedar Point. Wow, another Cedar Point coaster to make this list. I really don't like hating on Magnum because it is a classic, but I feel like other enthusiasts praise this way more than they should. I have to agree, this coaster does have some strong airtime moments from the first drop and the famous finale with triangular airtime hills. However, Magnum does suffer from its oldness. It is extremely rough, with some awkward transitions, and has very uncomfortable trains. I would say that the airtime hills at the end deliver more pain than pleasure. You also really get jackhammered in the valleys of this coaster. I do like Magnum, and I appreciate it for what it is, a classic. Coming in as the second most underrated roller coaster I've ridden is Flight of Fear, a premierized spaghetti bowl launch coaster at Kings Island. The novelty of this coaster being indoors really helps it out. It feels like it's flying. Maybe it's because I'm smaller, but I didn't find the trains to be too cramped like many others do. This coaster way exceeded my expectations with the forceful launch and intense inversions. Also, the coaster slowly building up speed to make it through that final corkscrew is a fun part. All in all, while Flight of Fear isn't a perfect roller coaster, I feel like it should receive more praise than it really does. A front row ride on this coaster is truly an amazing experience. The most overrated coaster I've ever ridden is West Coast Racers, a Premier Rides family-style launch coaster located at Six Flags Magic Mountain. Notice how I said family coaster. This coaster has 4 launches and 3 inversions, so you may be asking, how is this a family coaster? Because it rides like a family coaster. It's forceless and boring. Why would Six Flags decide to install this type of coaster at the self-proclaimed thrill capital of the world? With Magic Mountain being my home park, I rode this in opening week in December 2019. Wow, this coaster is boring. That was my first reaction, and I expected other enthusiasts to follow in the same way. But they did not, with many calling this a perfect addition and others praising it for its airtime. Ugh, this coaster just drives me crazy. The launches are more like pushes, and everything on this coaster is just so weak. Even worse, this coaster has Premier Rides' so-called comfort collars, which dig into your neck during the ride, removing any joy you might have gotten. Capacity on West Coast Racers is bad, and the operations are even worse. Magic Mountain, why did you add this? I suppose I'm glad that we even got a new coaster, but I'm definitely looking forward to Wonder Woman in 2022. Residing just across from West Coast Racers is the most underrated coaster I've ever ridden, the GCI Woody Apocalypse at Six Flags Magic Mountain. Let me just start off by saying, what an amazing coaster. This layout is great with tons of airtime and lots of good forces. I love the pre-drop because it helps build up speed for the main drop and launch your butt out of the seat. This coaster really feels like it's flying as it twists and turns its way through its track, and the tunnels add a great effect. I was fortunate enough to experience a back row night ride on Apocalypse, and it was just amazing. I have no shame in calling Apocalypse my second favorite coaster at Magic Mountain, only behind Twisted Colossus. Many people consider Apocalypse a mid to low tier GCI, but it's anything but. I found it much smoother than Gold Striker and to provide better forces than Mystic Timbers. All in all, a fantastic coaster that deserves more praise than it gets. Okay, I don't think West Coast Racers is that bad. It's just frustrating though when your home park gets 2 medium-sized editions instead of 1 large edition like a B&M Giga. I don't hate any rides on this list, but I do think some are just blown way out of proportion. Do you think I missed any overrated or underrated coasters? Comment down below and remember to like and subscribe.